Hi everyone, it's Artist from Carpentry. In today's video I'm gonna show you how to fit Architrave, how to measure it and how not to cut it too short, because that does happen now and again. So the first really job is to mark where you're gonna have it on your frame. For that I use square. So also what you need to bear in mind when fitting the Architrave is what sort of hinges you're gonna have, because that will determine your measurement from the inside the lining to where your Architrave will be. Reason being, because when you put your Architrave, as you can see here, your knuckle is proud, goes onto the frame. So in this case, you see you need, it's 5 millimeters. It's 5 millimeters from the edge of the lining onto the side of the hinge. That is for 3 inch. So if your knuckle is this size, so minimum you will need 7 millimeters from the edge of the door onto where the Architrave goes, so you clear the Architrave itself so it doesn't back bind, because sometimes people put it too close and what it does, it back binds. So first job, we're taking the square, set square, set your 7 millimeters. Mark the head like so. Which I have done before. Then put a couple marks on head here. But usually it's best to mark the side where your door is going to be swinging on before you actually put the door, which I have done, because what it will allow you to not struggle basically, because it's going to be quite hard to get in there, as you can see, because you've got a door swinging on that side. So I've put my marks on this, on the side where the door is being hung. I've marked where the Architrave is going to go before I actually started doing the Architrave, so knowing that it's going to save me time in the long run. So you just go down and mark, you know, every say 300, don't need it more than that. So the next step is you get your rough measurement for Architrave, depending on the size. What I always do, say if it's a 3-inch Architrave, I allow roughly, 3 inches. Then I take the measurement, see what it is. This is say 77, so I allow extra 1.5 inches or something, extra 30 millimeters. So I got spare. So also I always use either stick sole or some sort of adhesive, flexible adhesive, polymer adhesive, which stays flexible. And on the miters I use either PVA, depending on what material. On timber I use PVA, and on the MDF usually I use spray glue, not spray glue, glue with activator. So that way it ensures that your miter is glued well and it doesn't split, because on MDF usually it splits if you nail it. So what we do now, I'll go and cut some up and I'll show you how to measure properly. So first job, you need to cut one of the angles. I usually do the left angle first, and then I move on to another one afterwards. As I said, you measure roughly your distance. So you can make this 850 or 800, depending on width of your architrave. And the legs usually are 2.1. That is standard measurement, unless you got a you know, taller door frames, etc. But usually it's 2.1. So once the first cut is made, what I do, I offer to the mark I've made. I hold it in position, I mark the other side. And that will give me perfect cut, perfect mark where to cut, sorry. So, once you've done that, put adhesive, stick saw, stick slide, anything you want to use really, as long as it's permanently flexible, because then it stops, it avoids cracking unnecessary, so it moves with building together. So once the head is on, as you can see, we got it perfectly where we want it. Usually when I cut the sides, I have about 2mm clearance in the bottom, because if you put a floor or anything else there, you know, you don't want to be too tight, and most likely you're going to have to cut it off anyway when the floor is laid or carpet, so that's not going to affect. So then I measure, extend this line on the side, extend this line, so measure from the floor to that line, which is 206, and so 2 meters 6 millimeters to the point, so I'll make it 2 meters 4, give 2 millimeters gap. Check the other side. The same 206, so I will cut 204. I'll show you how I cut. So make sure you cut your end straight. So when I make cuts, what I try to do is cut the ends off, so, and spin them, which would represent 2 sides of the architrave, and that way you get the ends cut already, and all you got to do then is just cut them 45. But what I also do, I only use one side of the 45. I find it being a bit more accurate rather than going, but it's actually, I suppose it depends on the saw you have. So less moving around, I find it a bit easier. So I'll just cut the end off here, turn it over off so you can see. So I cut that off, then I spin it around, and I will be cutting and I'll be using the saw for miters on this side. And now we got 2 meters, 4 millimeters. So we cut that. Bit more. So that's cut. So we can go and nail that on. The 2 sides. Make sure you cut both right way up. That's why I try not to move too much around, because then I can control how I'm cutting it. So next step is, so because it's MDF Architrave, as I said, if it had been a timber one, I would use PVA and a pin through the top to hold the monitor together. You can't really do that with MDF, reason being because it's split. So always when I do MDF ones, I use spray glue and activator, sorry, 2 compound glue, like Architrave, call it what you like. So therefore I will put adhesive onto the actual wall rather than an Architrave, so I can stick the miter first, because sometimes you get it everywhere, you know, you can, because those MDF Architraves not always are super straight, so they curve slightly, hence why I don't want to get it all over, you know, finished walls, so saves you on cleaning. So I'll do that now. I'll add the adhesive on the walls. That's applied. Then I will put glue on actual piece. Spray the miter. And hold it till it dries. It shouldn't take long, probably 5 seconds, 10 seconds to hold it. Once that's done, which is done now, I got a nail gun and I nail the side. So this is how you do the Architraves. When it's MDF, you use miter glue. Obviously put adhesive on the back. I would advise permanently flexible adhesive, polymer adhesive, or like Sticksol, or you know, there's like sticks, Fixol and all sorts you can get depending on what you can get hold of, but something which will stay flexible, because timber always will move, drying, etc. You know, cold weather, dry weather, so it will just you will allow it to move together, so it won't be cracking as much. So yeah, basically repeat this process. If you're using, as I said, if you're using the timber Architrave, depending on the profile, you might be able to put PVA on corners and nail it through the top. But because it's MDF, I, you know, wouldn't recommend. I'll recommend to use a glue and a spray activator, Architrave, or you know, there's many names of it, but you know what I mean. and that way you're gonna have, you know, strong miters which don't need any filling, can be painted straight away. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch up you in the next video.